So the last 2 or 3 Indian movies in theater have kind of been a disappointment for me. But Kingdom, which is rare to have an American release before in India, it might be only a couple hours. However, am I excited to watch this early? Let's find out. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Kingdom. So what's it about? First off, when you go in, know it's going to be, it looks like a two-part movie. But this is about two brothers that kind of go astray because something horrific happens when they're younger. And now one of them is a cop and one of them is in charge of this, not really in charge of this island, but like is really embedded in this island. But the one who's a cop really has been trying to find his brother for like 18 years. He has a way to do it. However, who's getting backstabbed, who's going to die in this twist and turn gangster cop drama-esque horror. Horror? No, it's action, you freaking idiot. Anyway, did I like this movie? I did. I like the maturity of this one. I like how they wanted to take this like seriously, make it brutal, and have some fun aspects to it. However, there are some little things in this movie where I'm like, I don't know if that resonates as well as it wanted to. Also having a little bit too many endings. And I know a lot of Indian movies like to do stuff from the past and relate it to the future. And this kind of does it also with opening with the 1920s and how a quote-unquote king or leader of this island comes to fruition. And yes, it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I do like one of the scenes they did with the swirling bag. I think that was actually pretty fascinating how they decided to do it. But, tying some of that stuff into like 1991 to 1920, it's fine, but I just felt like if they focused more on the like 1991 and how it connected, it would have been a little bit better. And for a fact when the ending comes, there is going to be a second one, but I'm curious where it's going to go because it got brutal at the end, pretty quick, pretty violent, and just bombastic when nothing was perfect in this movie. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of Indian films where when there's a fight sequence, usually the hero or the heroine always wins and they're never injured. There's no blood on them and they don't make mistakes. Here, there are mistakes, especially with him riding a motorcycle and he like flips and things like that where he's getting shot, he's getting stabbed, and he is making mistakes through this fight scene. So I was like, okay, that's a breath of fresh air getting to it. Brutality. They almost did like a red wedding. That's all I'm going to say in this movie, but they didn't decide to go that far. There were a couple snap deaths that they actually show. We're like, oh, it's going to go there. And they decided to do it because there is some satanic just stuff with these people that are just horrific. With the main satanic person or psychopath, whatever you want to call it, I do wish his ending was more gravitas, like, but it wasn't, which is okay. I understand what they're going for, and I do think when it comes to the second one, it will be more brutal. Because when I think of like the most like brutal third act of a movie that I've seen this year from India, it's Hit Third Case. That third act of that movie was like jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, and it's going to be a very hard movie from India to beat that for 2025. In my opinion, of course, we're a little over halfway through the year, but we're also there. So the intermissions, I really didn't like, you could say like the first half is a little bit slower than the second half, sure, but there is no like, oh my god, the first half is way better than the second half. They both have their positive negatives with these brothers. And that could be a negative because this brother relationship kind of gets melodramatic too much. And you're like, okay, let's simmer down. I understand you haven't seen each other, but some of the character antics and what they're doing, it didn't feel real and it felt a little bit forced. Also, there were some side characters which I do wish had a little bit more meat on their bone, especially one of the cops, the doctor character, and others, which I do think when the second movie comes out, these characters will have a bigger role because you start to realize there's a lot of sinister stuff in this movie and there aren't a lot of good guys. And that's what I kind of also liked in this film is, yes, there is a quote-unquote good guy in this film, and these people from the island, all they want to do is be citizens of India, and they were saying, no, you can't be citizens of India. So they're kind of the good guys. But the main characters overall, they all have flaws. They all aren't all good. And I do like that perspective of these characters. There's only one quote-unquote singing, dancing sequence, and it's the start of the second act. And I'm glad they only decided to do one because this movie did not need any dance or musical numbers in this film. So I like the look of the movie. It seemed like the CGI was very minimal. I'll say one thing, those elephants, if that was CGI, those are some of the better elephants I've seen CGI, which I know some of the foots are, or the legs, but the actual bodies when they're walking across the street, it's hard for me to believe that was CGI. If it was, bravo for, believing me. There was, the bridge scene, sure, a little bit chaotic and unrealistic with the shield and all the bullets going at him, but I do like that there was casings coming out of the gun, so that's another positive there. So, it's a good story. Yes, it might be something you've seen before, but how they introduce some of the characters and introduce some of the twists and turns at different spots of the movie actually intrigued me because it was different than I thought. I thought, okay, they're going to wait until the very end of the movie to do this, but they don't. They do a lot of it in the first act or, before the intermission. I really did dig that. So overall, I thought the acting was good. It's a very solid looking film. It's a very mature script. It's written extremely well about what each character is going to do and how they want to push this story forward. With it being in 1991, that does have me intrigued about this next movie. Is it going to stay in 1991 or is it going to be like a 2010, 2020 type of film? I have no idea, but I'm intrigued about maybe they are going to keep it in that way because the whole Sri Lanka, India, political exile that's going on through the history of India at this point in time. But I do think it was, like I said, written well, acted well. It's a solid freaking film overall. Yes, some dramatic moments weren't the best. Some of the fight sequences, especially on the bridge, were kind of like, okay, cool, but let's tone it down just a little bit. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with this one. I am curious on what, people from India versus people in the States are going to think about this movie, if it's going to be liked or not more. But I do think Kingdom will be liked a lot more than other Indian movies that have been released this year. So Kingdom will receive a 4 out of 5 Futons, which equals at 80%. So see the critics and user scores gave this one. So actually right now I'm seeing not a lick of thing on Rotten Tomato, not even a freaking thing to pick of. It's called, people are saying it's The Kingdom, but it's not called The Kingdom. Are we just not going to have this on Rotten Tomato at all? Anyway, let's look on IMDb then, because that's kind of crazy. At least have one of them, right? Anyway, we have nothing for IMDb either. It literally says add your plot in your language. There's even nothing there. So interesting, because this theater was packed. Every other showtime when you look Wednesday night was freaking packed. So my 80%. Chase out here's the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of these Blue Futontopia. You Blue Futonians, thank you for watching for a great day. I don't care if you watch this today, tomorrow, week, from a month, year from now. I love every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And are you part of this kingdom?